The evolution of a car owner should look like this. First, you ride in the womb, in an egg. Then you're born, let's say, into a Zaporozhets. Then into something bigger. And then, eventually, you move into whatever you, as an adult, are actually able to afford in your life. Or, alternatively, you devolve into being a pedestrian or perhaps a motorcyclist. That was a joke, just so you know, and there's not even a grain of truth in it. Microcars are a temporary post-war phenomenon, and more often than not, such vehicles were built out of desperation. There were a lot of similar solutions in Europe. Let's list a few of them, of course. The Messerschmitt is the brainchild of aircraft manufacturers. These venerable models proliferated in various versions from different manufacturers, eventually reaching BMW. The Spanish Zapotillo and the English Bond. Microcars. Not just cars, but micro ones. Like the one I'm sitting in. It has a roof, and the comfort is, let's say, conditional. And there's no draft in here. That's the main concept of a microcar. It's cheap to drive, and because of the small engine, the tax is low. Naturally, when the European economy began to recover after World War II, all these miracle stools faded into oblivion and were almost completely forgotten by both buyers and manufacturers. But that would happen in a couple of years. In the mid-50s, though, everything was still looking bright. A riddle. What exactly connects this particular car and a well-known locomotive manufacturing company? Could it simply be a wife's whims, or is there something more to the story? There's a legend that the wife of one of the managers at the Hanslet Engine Company, the very locomotive manufacturer from the town of Hasley in the United Kingdom, wanted a vehicle that was easy to park, and as the myth goes, she wanted a car more convenient than her exceptionally luxurious Jaguar automobile. History hasn't preserved the name of this bold woman, but for some reason, it has kept the model of the Jaguar XK 120. Compare the Scootacar and the Jaguar. I'm inclined not to believe the legend. It seems to me that the NG company simply wanted to try their hand at a new, and as they thought, promising business. For the development, they hired Henry Brown, a man of distinction on the Foggy Albion. That's one of the names for England, by the way, who had previously been responsible for the Ridley. Ridley was also an English microcar that failed spectacularly on the market. The engine would overheat, and sometimes even catch fire. Well, a crappy engine isn't really your fault, Henry. So, Henry decided to redeem himself. How did he do it? By the way, this is another legend. He sat astride the engine and asked to have his outline traced. The silhouette turned out to be, well, that's the silhouette they ended up with. Tall. For reference, that's 1,524 millimeters in height, 1,321 millimeters wide, and 2,210 millimeters long. It's not just a soap bubble on wheels, but a complete artistic image. It even has a belt line. The door hinges are real, not just cellar lid hinges. And so on. Oh, and the emblem. It actually depicts the car itself. The whole point is comfort and power. By the way, the hardest part of restoration is finding the rear lights. Le Perry. In short, they were made only for these cars. Later, the mold and all the equipment burned down. Why do you need to know this? Just for general knowledge. But everything else can be restored, as long as you have the money. For example, the body is a fiberglass marvel. It was molded and glued separately. It has a steel frame inside, and then it was bolted to the floor. It was recommended to seal the seams with dum-dum sealant. In my opinion, this is the cutest microcar. I've told you about them. Bless you. Do you know what's most important in this design? The floor. Or rather, the steel frame and the floor welded to it. The whole structure is assembled on it. Now the engine. By the way, there's access to it. Through the cabin, under the seat. And you really start to believe that legend where the designer sat on it. If for locomotives and steam engines the Hanslet Engine Company made the engines themselves, here they bought them from Villiers. In short, engines from the English company Villiers were installed in every third little rattletrap. Microcars, small motorboats, water pumps, and portable generators. In the year 1956, the Villiers company proudly produced its remarkable 2 millionth engine. The Villiers 9E 197 cubic centimeters, single cylinder, two-stroke, with 9 horsepower at 4,500 RPM maximum torque. 17 Newton meters at 3,000 RPM. An interesting feature is the flywheel magneto of their own design, patented in 1917. And on it is a fan that accelerates air for cooling inside the shroud. Suspension. It's here, even despite having only 3 wheels. The rear is independent. The engine is actually installed in it. There are springs and shock absorbers. The wheel is driven by a chain. At the front, it's just like a full-size car, only miniature. But the main thing is, it's independent. The strut side members are welded to the subframe. There are no control arms. Between the upper and lower mounts, there's a little shock absorber strut, and also the steering rods. The bench. There we go. Well, I'm too tall, so this one goes in the bin. And like this, it's fine. And right away, I want to point something out. If it feels instinctively cramped at the ceiling and shoulders, down below there's a wide floor, a wide lower section. The teardrop shape of the body. In this case, the drop falls and does its job. There turned out to be a lot of space in the cabin, considering what you'd expect. There are large pockets in the doors, and the biggest one in the class, the microcar class. And it really is. There is the largest luggage shelf you can find on a vehicle like this, and there's even a second seat located directly behind the first one, almost like a little train. As you saw earlier, the backrest can be removed, and another passenger can quite easily sit behind you, provided they're not too big or tall. In theory, at least. In theory. In the back, you could even seat 2 people diagonally, and in later versions, the Mark II and Deluxe, there was a full-fledged luxurious rear bench. A truly luxurious bench seat. Well, for little people like these, you know, in any case. There's also a shelf under the steering wheel. The actual place where the person sits is finished nicely. It's covered in faux leather, and whatever isn't upholstered is painted. There's carpeting on the floor. The instruments are all in place as well. The speedometer goes up to 80 kilometers per hour, and that's not a joke. The clock is analog, just like in a Rolls-Royce, or at least it's just as good. There are indicator lights. Glass windows in the front. Actual glass. Side vents that open in different directions. They're made of plexiglass, just like the rear window. There's a windshield wiper. All right, let us go ahead and start it up now, please. Oops, wait just a moment, please. The starter. This isn't just a starter, it's a dyno starter. It's a device that combines the functions of a generator and a starter. After rattling with some metal parts and the flywheel, the little engine comes to life, chugging and puffing smoke. You need to warm up the hot heart so the Scootacar drives more confidently. And it really wants to go. You can feel it. There's a truly magical key position right here. You absolutely can't mix it up or get it confused. That is to say, whichever way you decide to turn it, that's exactly the direction the car will go. Turn it left and you'll have 4 gears forward. Turn it right and you'll have 4 gears in reverse. This kind of reverse function was available until options on the first versions, and it cost an extra £10. By the way, the spare wheel was an extra option. It cost £4. So the gearbox is motorcycle style. First gear is away from you, the rest are towards you. Third, for a car weighing 230 kilograms, the acceleration is very lively and dynamic. Yes, it just really wants to surge forward. It says 80 kilometers per hour on the speedometer, and it will definitely reach that speed. The center of gravity is quite high, and the suspension practically doesn't work at all. You stick out like a candle. Accordingly, in turns, there's a very high chance. But you understand yourself what kind of chance that is? My God, what a chance that is. So in corners, you have to think like a nuclear physicist who knows the laws of mechanics and the universe. Otherwise, tipping over onto three wheels is the easiest thing in the world. And the you drop it, you buy it rule doesn't work here. Out of about 1,000 built, approximately, though this isn't exact, 160 cars have survived. And if during its production years its price started at £294, 9 shillings and a penny, today I can't even imagine its approximate value.
The turning radius of this contraption is, of course, race car-like. A bus typically takes up less space when turning than this large vehicle does. You feel like a candle on a birthday cake, standing out and drawing attention as you sit right in the center. You're sticking out in the middle of the road, noticeable and exposed, but at the same time the gears shift really well, so smoothly that with just a flick of your finger you can change gears instantly and effortlessly. In sequence. First gear is forward, all the others are backwards. It's not hard to catch the right gear, but there's a huge problem with the brakes. They exist, sort of, but they don't really let you slow down the way you'd want to, or as much as you might hope. That's why you always have to think ahead and plan your moves carefully. The noise inside the cabin is just absolutely deafening, making it very hard to hear anything else. Honestly, I don't know how a woman, or really anyone, could manage to drive this thing. Although, I suppose, I guess there were in fact women in some of those distant foreign villages who actually could do it, you know? The kind who could stop a horse. Today, Scootacar owners are united in a fan club for this little car. There are 75 owners in the group. Is the museum complex of civilian and military vehicles part of it? I don't know. But I do know exactly where it is, just 15 minutes from the city of Yekaterinburg. Here, on a sprawling area of 85,000 square meters, there's an impressive collection with tens of thousands of fascinating exhibits, and it's continuously and steadily growing. And they've even got a bureau, just in case you were wondering. Let me just say, these little microcars are absolutely adorable and charming, but after actually driving them for a while, you really want to switch to a Jaguar. Anyway, the hunt for the perfect car continues. Honestly, I've never really understood these women. Nothing ever seems right for them. You saw it. It's uncomfortable to make out in a Jaguar. We're by the planes, just so you know. All right, then? That happens, too. Ran out of fuel a little bit. But at least it's easy to push.